Team 22 of 52 teams of 8 help make America wiser and kinder with antique rival wisdom team quotes that have passed the test of time to make humanity great, with words of wisdom to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. Give your kids free Easy Extra Advantage math, spelling, and reading workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com. Free easy math wisdom workbooks with Octo-Repetition to grow math self-confidence. Free easy alpha Cypher coded puzzles teach letters, numbers, and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries.
Team quote 22.1 Genius does what it must, and talent does what it can. Edward Bulwer-Lytton, 1831 to 1891. This observation from Bulwer-Lytton provides valuable insights for talent management and organizational development in modern business contexts. The distinction between genius and talent has significant implications for how organizations identify, develop, and leverage their human capital. In the organizational context, this principle suggests a fundamental difference between exceptional innovators who drive transformative change and highly skilled professionals who excel within established frameworks. Both are essential to organizational success, but they require different management approaches and development strategies. From a leadership perspective, recognizing this distinction enables more effective talent deployment. Organizations benefit from identifying those individuals who demonstrate the innovative drive characteristic of genius. Those who must create, transform, and challenge existing paradigms. Equally important is acknowledging and supporting talented individuals who consistently deliver high-quality results within established systems. This understanding should inform organizational structure and talent development strategies. Companies that successfully balance these two types of capabilities often achieve superior results. They create environments where innovative thinking can flourish while maintaining the operational excellence that talented professionals provide. For practical application, organizations might consider developing distinct career paths and development programs that acknowledge these different types of contributors. This approach ensures that both innovative and operational excellence receive appropriate support and recognition.
Team quote 22.2 Skill and confidence are an unconquered army. George Herbert, 1593 to 1633. Herbert's metaphor linking skill and confidence to an unconquered army provides valuable insights for organizational effectiveness and professional development. This perspective illuminates how technical competence, combined with self-assurance, creates formidable capabilities in business contexts. In professional settings, the synergy between skill and confidence manifests in several critical ways. Technical expertise without confidence often fails to achieve its full potential, while confidence unsupported by genuine capability risks leading to poor decisions. When properly aligned, these qualities enable professionals and organizations to tackle complex challenges effectively and maintain competitive advantages in challenging markets. From a leadership development perspective, this principle suggests the importance of building both technical competencies and psychological readiness in parallel. Organizations that invest in developing their employees' skills, while also creating environments that foster confidence, often see superior performance outcomes. This dual focus helps teams maintain resilience during challenging periods and pursue ambitious objectives with greater effectiveness. The strategic implications extend to organizational culture and talent management. Companies benefit from creating environments where both skill development and confidence building are prioritized. This might include implementing structured training programs, while also providing opportunities for employees to exercise their capabilities in increasingly challenging contexts. Team quote 22.3 A pound of pluck is worth a ton of luck. James A. Garfield 1831 to 1881. Garfield's insight about the superior value of determination over chance presents a compelling framework for strategic business leadership and organizational resilience. This principle has particular relevance in today's dynamic business environment, where persistent effort often distinguishes successful enterprises from their competitors. The business implications of this perspective are substantial. Organizations that cultivate a culture of determined effort and strategic persistence typically demonstrate greater resilience during market challenges and achieve more sustainable long-term success. Rather than relying on favorable market conditions or fortunate timing, these organizations develop systematic approaches to overcome obstacles and capitalize on opportunities through sustained, deliberate effort. From an operational standpoint, this principle suggests the importance of developing robust business processes and contingency plans rather than hoping for optimal conditions. Successful organizations typically invest in comprehensive risk management strategies, thorough market analysis, and systematic approaches to problem solving. These methodical efforts provide more reliable paths to success than waiting for favorable circumstances. Leadership development programs can benefit from incorporating this principle by emphasizing the cultivation of persistence and strategic determination. Teaching leaders to approach challenges with systematic determination rather than hoping for favorable circumstances leads to more reliable and reproducible success. This approach includes developing skills in strategic planning, risk assessment, and resilient decision-making. Teen quote 22.4. He who has never failed somewhere cannot be great. Herman Melville 1819 to 1891. Melville's observation provides valuable insights regarding the relationship between failure and exceptional achievement in professional contexts. This principle has significant implications for organizational culture, leadership development, and innovation strategy. From an organizational perspective, this insight suggests that companies must create environments where calculated risks and learning from setbacks are not merely tolerated, but valued as essential components of growth. Organizations that stigmatize failure often inadvertently suppress innovation and limit their potential for breakthrough achievements. The leadership implications are particularly relevant in today's dynamic business environment. Successful leaders typically demonstrate a track record of learning from setbacks and using these experiences to refine their approach. This pattern of resilience and adaptation often distinguishes exceptional leaders from their peers. Furthermore, leaders who openly acknowledge their past failures while highlighting the lessons learned create psychologically safer environments that encourage thoughtful risk-taking. In terms of innovation strategy, this principle suggests that organizations should view unsuccessful initiatives not as wasteful expenditures, but as investments in organizational learning. Companies that systematically analyze failures and incorporate these insights into their processes often develop more robust and successful approaches over time. Teen quote 22.5. In recounting our woes, we often soothe them. Pierre Corneille 1606 to 1684. Corneille's insight captures a fundamental truth about human psychology that has significant implications for organizational communication and emotional intelligence in professional settings. The act of articulating challenges often serves both therapeutic and strategic purposes in business contexts. From a leadership perspective, this principle highlights the importance of creating spaces for constructive dialogue about organizational challenges. When teams can openly discuss difficulties, they often process and better understand complex problems, reduce stress and anxiety around challenging situations, identify previously unrecognized patterns or solutions, build stronger collaborative relationships through shared experiences. This understanding has particular relevance for change management and organizational development. Providing structured opportunities for employees to voice concerns about organizational changes or challenges often leads to better acceptance and implementation of new initiatives. The simple act of expressing concerns can help transform resistance into engagement. In terms of team dynamics, This principle suggests the value of regular debriefing sessions and retrospectives. These structured discussions allow teams to process difficulties, extract valuable lessons, and develop more effective approaches for future challenges. Teen quote 22.6. Be content to act, and leave the talking to others. Baltasar Gracian 1601–1658. That quote from Gracian's The Art of Worldly Wisdom carries profound implications worth exploring. While it may seem to advocate for silence, its deeper meaning speaks to the relationship between action and rhetoric. Gracian, a Spanish Jesuit priest and philosopher, wrote during the Baroque period when courtly behavior and personal conduct were subjects of intense philosophical discussion. The context is important. He was writing in a time when many sought advancement through flattery and empty words. The wisdom in this maxim lies in its recognition that actions have an authenticity that words alone cannot match. When we act decisively and effectively, our deeds speak for themselves, making explanations or justifications unnecessary. This aligns with other philosophical traditions. Consider the Stoic emphasis on practical virtue over theoretical knowledge, or the Confucian ideal of the Junzi, superior person, who leads by example rather than proclamation. However, it's worth considering that Gracian isn't advocating for complete silence. After all, he wrote extensively himself. Rather, he's suggesting a prioritization. Let your primary focus be on meaningful action, allowing your accomplishments to build your reputation rather than relying on self-promotion or empty promises. In our modern context, this wisdom remains particularly relevant. In an era of personal branding and constant social media presence, there's something powerful about choosing to focus on substantive achievements rather than their advertisement. The quote encourages us to ask ourselves, are we spending more energy talking about what we'll do, or actually doing it? Teen quote 22.7. No snowflake in an avalanche ever feels responsible. Voltaire 1694–1778. This profound observation from Voltaire captures a fascinating psychological and social phenomenon that's worth examining in detail. Let me help break down the multiple layers of meaning packed into this deceptively simple metaphor. At its core, this quote addresses the concept of collective responsibility and how individuals often fail to recognize their role in larger systemic events. The metaphor of the snowflake and avalanche is particularly apt for several reasons. First, consider the physical nature of an avalanche. It begins with countless individual snowflakes, each one seemingly insignificant on its own. The avalanche emerges from their collective presence and movement. Yet no single snowflake could be said to cause the avalanche. This mirrors many social phenomena where large-scale events result from the accumulated actions of many individuals. The psychological aspect is equally important. The word feels in the quote is crucial. Voltaire isn't saying that snowflakes aren't responsible, but rather that they don't feel responsible. This speaks to a common human tendency to distance ourselves from the consequences of collective actions. We might think, my individual choice doesn't matter, or I'm just one person, when facing large-scale problems. This concept becomes particularly relevant when we consider modern challenges like climate change, market crashes, or social movements. Each person might think their individual actions, whether it's using a plastic straw, making a small investment, or choosing not to vote, are insignificant. Yet these individual choices, multiplied across millions of people, create massive systemic effects. Voltaire's insight connects to what social psychologists now call the diffusion of responsibility, a phenomenon where individuals feel less responsible for taking action when others are present. This was notably demonstrated in the later research of John Darley and Bibb Lataine through their bystander effect studies. What makes this quote especially powerful is how it can prompt us to reflect on our own behavior. In what avalanches might we be participating without acknowledging our role? How might recognizing our individual contribution to collective outcomes change our choices? Teen Quote 22.8. The fears of one class of men are not the measure of the rights of another. George Bancroft, 1800 to 1891. This powerful quote from George Bancroft, an American historian and statesman, addresses a fundamental principle of civil rights and social justice that remains deeply relevant today. Let me help break down its meaning and significance. To fully understand this quote, we should first consider the historical context. Bancroft wrote during a period of significant social upheaval in American history, spanning the antebellum period through Reconstruction. During this time, various groups' rights were often restricted based on the anxieties or prejudices of those in power. The quote structure presents two key concepts: fears and rights. By contrasting these, Bancroft makes a crucial philosophical argument about the relationship between subjective emotions and fundamental human rights. Let's examine why this matters. Think of rights as inherent qualities that belong to individuals by virtue of their humanity. These rights exist independently of how others feel about them. Now consider fears, which are emotional responses that may or may not have any basis in reality. Bancroft is arguing that these subjective fears shouldn't determine or limit other people's fundamental rights. To understand this better, let's break it down with an example. In the 19th century, some white Americans feared that educating enslaved people would lead to uprising and social instability. According to Bancroft's principle, these fears, no matter how genuinely felt, could not justify denying the fundamental right to education to any human being. This principle extends far beyond its historical context. Consider how throughout history, dominant groups have often restricted others' rights based on their own fears. Fear of economic competition, fear of cultural change, fear of losing social status. Bancroft's statement boldly declares that such fears are not a legitimate basis for limiting human rights. The word measure in the quote is particularly significant. It suggests that rights aren't something to be doled out according to others' comfort levels. They're not to be measured, adjusted, or restricted based on the anxieties of any particular group. This brings us to a deeper question about the nature of rights in a democratic society. How do we balance different groups' interests while protecting fundamental human rights? Bancroft's answer seems clear. Personal or group fears cannot be the deciding factor. The relevance of this principle to modern discussions of civil rights, immigration, religious freedom, and other social issues is striking. When we hear arguments for restricting certain groups' rights based on others' fears, whether about safety, economic security, or social change, Bancroft's wisdom reminds us to distinguish between subjective fears and fundamental rights. And you can give your kids free Easy Extra Advantage Math, spelling, and reading workbooks you can download for free at stop2think.com or buy at educationstopshate.com. Free Easy Math Wisdom Workbooks with Octo-Repetition to grow math self-confidence. You'll get plenty of repetitive practice of age ranges and averages of our 52 teams of 8 quote authors. Free Easy Alpha Cypher coded puzzles teach letters, numbers, and phrases using antique wisdoms that encourage and educate. Can you decode the Cypher quote of encouragement using either our Learning to Spell or just for fun instructions? And since time is money, practice reading faster with 52 teams of antique rival wisdoms that have passed the test of time to encourage, educate, and entertain generations for centuries. We offer printed versions and timed videos with background music. Sign up for free weekly emails of 52 teams of antique rival wisdom workbooks with easy math, spelling, and reading practice. And if you'd like to get paid for sharing our wearable wisdoms, keep this in mind. Everyone I know wears a shirt and most of us change them daily, so change your shirt and change the world. Social equalities are blatantly subliminal antique positive wisdoms repetitively shared without saying a word. This applies to all our wearable shareable wisdoms, like pretty witty baby onesies and baby tees that you and others will see and read multiple times a day. The same is true with pretty witty kids, but they'll also share these wisdoms with anyone that can read at daycare or school. Youthful truths let your kids gain confidence, sharing antique wisdoms with their friends. Imagine them sharing words of wisdom with classmates and teachers. I think Tees I Wearb is a super easy way to share words of wisdom that have passed the test of time. Our social equalities help make us all wiser and kinder with blatantly subliminal messages promoting a more fair and equal opportunity society for all. And don't forget our giftwisdoms.com for birthdays and holidays that makes it easy to share the wisdom with clothing, coffee mugs, and magnets. So do the future a favor by encouraging, educating, and entertaining with words of wisdom that have passed the test of time to make us all wiser and kinder. With wearable wisdoms to fit babies, kids, and adults, you can clothe a whole family, city, or state. Join the 52 of 8 today at 52of8.com